Hi, I'm Kristen Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? So when you think about, I have so many questions, I don't even know where to start, but like, if you think about, can you remember before Miranda, and you would just go about your life and no one would recognize you, or people would randomly recognize you from different things? What was it like in terms of being in the world?
You mean before our show?
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like, again, because I was in this pretty successful movie when I was 12.
Right.
Amadeus.
No.
Little Darlings.
Little Darlings. Got
Amadeus
it.
was
later. But also, Oscar.
Oscar,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I always had a certain very manageable number of people.
Got it.
Recognizing. But so it was
comfortable.
It was like a little salt.
Sure.
It wasn't like an entire meatloaf. It was like a little salt, right?
Yes,
seasoning.
Yes.
And then, do you remember when the show started to air and people started to watch it? More than like 3/4 of the people that would come up to us were Black men.
No.
Do you remember this?
No.
It was so,
fascinating.
And I don't think it was just me, because we all used to talk about it.
Right.
It was wild. In the very beginning days, it was like, surely you're not our demographic, right? What's going on?
But amazing.
It was fantastic.
Maybe it was the guys who wanted to watch the boxing on HBO.
That's what it was.
Oh, wow.
It was the live sports event.
Right.
So it had a very male, and I don't know.
So let me ask you this, because this is something I think about when I watch it. Like, in terms of the sexuality stuff, like the actual sex scenes, you know, and I struggled with this myself, which is coming up is when I locked myself in the dressing room, but it hasn't happened yet. Did you think about, you're very fearless and unafraid at all times in the sex scenes, to the point where I would be like, maybe I need to go when Cynthia is filming sex scenes so that I can tell Eichenberg, do not grab her breast like that. You remember this? I was like, why do you grab your breast like that? You're just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's just not attractive. It's like too hard. I need to tell him that. You're like, whatever, which I love about you. But, like, did you think about like, what are we doing here? Is this for the male audience or is this for the female audience? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I guess I always thought it was kind of, I always thought that it was for the female audience primarily, but I thought it was like, it's like, maybe this is a crazy simile, but it's kind of like birth control, right? It's like, really important for us as women to have birth control.
Right.
But like, then the guys are like, you've got birth control? This is fantastic. We can have sex. You're interested in having sex, right? This is, it's kind of like, I feel like it was so empowering, and maybe it was a little on steroids from the reality for most women.
Right.
But it was happening out there. And so men, I think for men, it was like it was not only a wonderful peek into the secret world,
right,
which was fascinating,
right,
but it was also like there is this very old, and it has some truth to it, but it's not the entire truth, right? There is some sense of like women use sex as a tool to get commitment, right? And it's like for men to be shown this world and these people, it's like, actually, you know what? We also just really like having sex with you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's sort of, I think, a wonderful thing for men to learn, because
it's a good point.
They had been told the opposite so many times.
That's true. And I do feel, unfortunately, weirdly, like that's still out there in a strange way.
Well, and it's not completely untrue. There are, both things are true.
I guess that's true. The thing that's funny to me, though, is like if you think about then and then you think about now, like, hookup culture, like young hookup, it's very, very more advanced, like the dating apps,
yes,
Tinder,
very,
whatever, blah, blah,
much
blah.
more so, right? Obviously, I don't know really anything about the hookup culture that's happening now, right?
Right. I feel like I don't either.
And I guess my thing that seems to me different than our show, right, is like women can and always have had a lot of sex. But I think not 100% of the time, but by and large, the sex that these 4 women were having was not to try and get men to like them.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so that's what I worry about the hookup culture now. It's like you think you're very liberated because you're having a lot of sex, but do you want to be, are you enjoying the sex?
Right. Are you having sex because you want to, or are you having sex to try to get something?
To try and get like a different version of like trying to get a ring. It's like, does he like me?
Right.
You know, will he not call me if I don't?
Oh my God, yeah.
This,
which is like so Charlotte also with the you know, up the butt thing, right? Like because she doesn't want to do it, you know,
right?
But she really likes that guy, right? You know, and she thinks like he's just going to break up with her and not marry her or whatever. It's like so crazy.
Well, but it's both, right? It's interesting. It's like she worries he's going to break up with her if she doesn't do it, but also she's not really at the moment interested in it, right, as a thing in and of itself. But also it's like, but if I do this,
will he respect me?
Will he ever? He will never marry me.
Right. And also because Samantha very smartly in the car is like, in the cab, she's like, you know, and you talk about the power dynamics. Like it's super fascinating. I mean, we're touching on all of it, you know, in such a good way that I do feel like is still true. You know, like, are you doing it because you want to do it? But also you need to think about like someone's going to give up the power and you might have more power, but you might have less power. Like it's super fascinating and still, I think, so interestingly true.
Right. And I think, you know, if you think about Samantha, who is like the most empowered, right?
Yes,
the most sexually free, but also just the most empowered.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But there are, you know, you see the pain that she had, like particularly when she's dating Richard.
Yes,
you know,
we haven't gotten there yet, but
the pain of that there is even for the strongest character, you know?
Well, even in Valley of the 20-something guys, you know, she's with the chef guy. Do you remember that he's like lanky? He's got like long floppy hair.
Right.
And then
she'll always be older.
Yes.
Right.
And that cut for me, that cut deep, you know? I mean, it's so interesting how many small moments we have in almost every episode that I'm like, oh,
well, that's the thing that was so great about the show, you know, is that because, again, people saying like, is it a feminist show, but you're wearing high heels and sexy outfits, like, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of the great things about the show is that all of the characters, not the least of Carrie, you know, are all deeply flawed and make bad decisions.
Yes.
And so, you know, I love Wonder Woman. I've always loved Wonder Woman.
Yes, we love that you love
Wonder Woman. But I have my Wonder Woman backpack here today. But I know, and I have always known, that Wonder Woman is a very two-dimensional figure.
Good point.
She's perfect.
Right.
She's loving. She's strong. You name it, she's getting an A+.
Definitely.
And I enjoy her. But I understand she has no dimension and she's really not that interesting. Right. And that's the thing about all of our, both in the writing and in the playing, the thing that you were talking about before.
The contradictions,
about how you have the headline of who the character is, but right below the headline, they're all the contradictions and the price to be paid. Even like for Charlotte is trying so hard to buy into the fairy tale of being the perfect girl and doing the right thing and winning the gold ribbon of the perfect
ring.
Handsome husband and the ring, right?
Yeah.
But she, you know, she's constantly having that myth kind of eaten away.
Most definitely.
And also particularly when she tries to get married and then doesn't
No,
doesn't work out.
The pie in the face, you know, Michael and I talked a lot about the pie in the face and how all of us get our own version of the pie in the face. We also talked about the complexities of the character because I do feel like there's this crazy thing about Carrie not being likable, which is, you know, kind of insane because I don't know why we would still be, you know, like.
Well, but it's why we're so lucky to have Sarah Jessica playing her. It's like, it's why we're so lucky to have you playing Charlotte because in someone lesser hands, she would have been more two-dimensional. Right?
I mean, I think so. All I remember at the time, because as you know, my life is not like Charlotte's life.
No.
Basically at all. There are some crossovers, but I was never interested in getting married. So like that took a lot of work on my part to be like, you know, but I do think, I mean, they didn't know this. Like this is kind of the magic. There's a certain element of magic in all of our coming together, that they didn't, like we never read together. We never really met each other.
No,
like,
there's no chemistry read.
No, nothing. So thank God it worked out.
Right.
But
we do have these characteristics that are very good for our characters.
100%. We've got the characteristics, but then we're also very complex people and also very different people coming together from different places, which I think contributed in a positive way to what was on screen. You don't need to know that, right? You just feel it when you're watching it.
Right. You know what my mother used to say about the show?
What?
She said, you know what I like about your show? I watch it. I can tell who everyone is. They don't all look alike. I'm not confused.
That's true.
I don't know what was...
I think she's talking about how television, because I was talking about this a little bit too, like there was a homogeny, like a...
I mean, we're all white, obviously, and we're all of an age, right?
It's true, but see, even that was different, right? Because we were all of an age. There was no other show other than the Golden Girls, which, I mean, I remember going to an interview, I can't remember, I do remember who it was, I shouldn't even say this, but I walk out, it's a guy, it's a late night thing, and he goes... you guys are the new Golden Girls. And I was like mad. I was so mad. And I was like, now I'm going to have to go through this whole interview mad. And then he asked me about penis size. And I was just like, what on earth? Like, I just remember getting put through so many bizarre, like embarrassing and complex things where you would want to be like, do you not know that that's kind of like offensive? Like, I guess you're trying to be nice, but like, really, we're the Golden Girls? Like, really? Like, okay. But there was just nothing to compare us to. There's just nothing. There was just nothing. And because we weren't 25 and because there were 4 women, right? Even though it wasn't clear at the beginning, but it became more and more clear, that each of us were going to kind of get fleshed out and have that.
And have our own lane.
Right. And she would connect us, with the voiceover and all that. Oh, let's ask you this. What did you think about talking to the camera?
I love the talking to the camera.
This is why we love Cynthia.
I know Sarah Jessica always hated it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Why?
I don't know. I always, whether it's on film or on stage, when a character turns and talks to me, I love it.
You love to break the fourth wall.
I like to do it myself, but I love to have it happen to me as an audience member.
Okay.
And you see, it's slightly different, but you see all those shows like The Office and Modern Family, and where they're constantly like, looking at the camera.
Right. Well, they're doing interviews.
They're doing
in the documentary.
Right.
It's a cute little.
Yeah, I never mind it.
I enjoy those.
I don't really miss it. I don't. In our show, I don't really miss it once it's gone.
Right. No, I don't either.
But I liked it. I liked it.
I think it's interesting. I think it was hard for Sarah. Partly because she's in a scene, and also because of the Matthew thing, which I didn't even remember, but it makes total sense. But like when you watch her, I think it's the pilot or the first episode. She's in a scene, and then the guy gets in the cab, and she turns and talks to the camera. Like it's a very
I would
weird...
have loved that. I never did. I never got to do that, but I would have loved that.
I mean, we'd have our scene where we were talking to the camera, and you're so funny in the pilot when you're talking to the camera with the chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, so
good.
But
I think also. I think it was her unhappiness and maybe other people's unhappiness with that made it go away. But also when we used to do all those like man on the street, woman on the street, giving their opinion about whatever the subject at hand was, I feel like they partly cut those because they were just time consuming.
They were hard to do.
Hard to do. And you always had to, we had to cast it and then find a location and shoot the...
It's true.
Right?
It's true. I mean, that's why I love the basketball one, because they're in one place and it's all these different guys.
And it's the guys in the episode. It's also not some random person that you're never going to see again in the episode or anywhere else.
And that's a good point as well. Like as a convention or whatever you would call it, it was clunky in the beginning because like you had to find different people to come in and say X, Y, or Z.
Whereas in the pilot, it's like it's a way of being introduced to all of us, which I thought was fun.
Which makes perfect sense. But yeah, it was hard to keep it going.
From our conversations, like 2 things that occurred to me that I wanted to bring up. One was, you were talking about the time when they asked us what was like the body part that we felt insecure about or would like to change or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, there were however many episodes there were before we had any female writers. We just had Darren, and then we had Darren and Michael Patrick.
Right. I think there was a female writer in L.A. I can't remember her name, Terry something, but we never met them.
Right.
Yeah.
But so what I remember is I don't remember what episode it is, but it's pretty early, where we're talking about blowjobs and who likes them and who doesn't like them.
Yes.
And remember they came and interviewed us all? Do you remember this?
No! What?
Because they were gay men, so they have their own opinions about blowjobs, right? And their own relationship to it.
Oh my God.
But they were really kind of a little sheepish, but they felt like...
When you say they, do you mean Darren and Michael?
Darren and Michael.
Wow.
I remember Michael specifically asking me. But maybe they might have I think they might have come together.
Wow.
And asked.
I don't remember
And they
this.
wanted to know, the baseline question is, women enjoy blowjobs? Is it just something you just do to, get along, whatever?
My God.
So they went and then they put different things that people have said or whatever, and not necessarily in the mouth of the person who had said it, but because they were like...
I remember this.
Because I think every once in a while before we had female writers that were in New York, it was like, we have women here. We really should ask them because we actually don't know. I'm
so glad that they did. On my flight yesterday, I was losing my voice, so I was really trying to be on vocal rest because I really wanted to have a voice to talk to you today. I'm watching Bluey's.
You're watching what?
Bluey. Do you know Bluey? Your kids are too old. Bluey is an Australian cartoon.
You mean like Blue's Clues?
Mm-mm. It's new. It's really, really good, Cynthia.
Oh,
yeah.
Bluey's.
It's dogs. They're dogs. Mm-hmm.
Well, like Blue's Clues. No?
No, it's not like Blue's Clues.
Okay.
It is a thing. It's a phenomenon.
Okay.
My kids are fully obsessed. We've seen them all, but it's the type of thing where I want to rewatch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
it's
SpongeBob
really good.
used to be for us.
Yes.
In the early days.
Yes.
Early SpongeBob, there's nothing better, I think.
It's true. SpongeBob had
It was
had
the
a
one
life.
thing that our whole family, with all of our children at very different ages, we would all watch it.
It's a little lighter than SpongeBob because SpongeBob has kind of a subversive humor underneath.
Yeah.
This is more like somehow they're writing for the parents and the kids. It's really good. So I'm watching that because I'm watching something like a feel-good thing. That's my feel-good thing. And it's dark, and everyone's sleeping around me. And these two adorable young flight attendants come up to me and kneel down. And I'm like, oh, because I'm in the middle of a Bluey's, right? So I pause the Bluey's. I'm like, yes. And they give me this note and then they skitter off. And the note is so sweet. And I meant to bring it, but it basically says, we just want to thank you because we were raised for better or worse on Sex and the City. And I was like,
so cute.
It's so gives me chills. It's like an incredible and bizarre thing to think about.
Well, right. I think we talked a little bit about, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives together watching it being a kind of a springboard for talking about sex. And I think a lot of mothers and daughters too. And
so many.
And again, a great springboard for
Absolutely. And it just boggles my mind to think about the origins of us, right? And thank God I think all had a sense of the wonderfulness, the power, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we were hoping that everyone else would also get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And clearly HBO, thank God, did and let us, have the space to grow and continue. And then the reviewers, didn't really, which was also really interesting. But we kind of also expected that, right? I remember being very worried before that first, the first season. Yeah. Yeah. I remember me and Sarah Jessica, what are we going to say? What are they going to think? And remember how we did, anyone wanted to talk to us, we talked to them. We were we're going to get out there and work hard so that this is a success, and we did, obviously. Never have people worked harder, I don't think, for a TV show. You know what I mean? But it was bigger. It felt bigger. I feel like it felt bigger in a way because there wasn't anything like it.
Right.
It felt like we were part of something that was bigger.
And because we were on HBO, two things. We didn't have sponsors looking over our shoulder, right? And saying, you can't say that, you can't talk about that,
we were free,
right?
Yeah.
And because it was HBO, a different version, but a subset of that was it's a place where they would just let people with vision do their thing and not interfere. Right.
There were very few notes.
Very few notes.
Just two that I know of, and one had to do with your storyline where you and Sarah Jessica, Carrie, sorry. I really mix this up sometimes. It's bad. Okay, it's bad. You and Carrie have some guy that you fight over. Do you remember this? It's not in the first season. I think it's second or third. And Carolyn Strauss was like, no, they will never be arguing over a guy.
Oh,
You don't remember?
It's not the guy from when the guy I'm on going on the date with dies, right? It's not that. It's not frenemies. Is it frenemies?
It could be frenemies because I think it changed from the
because that's
read-through.
my friend Alana's husband, Dominic Famuso, right?
Yes, it
and
could be
so, right, I think the
that
idea
would make sense.
Was she comes with me to the funeral of the guy that I was supposed to go on the date with, and I call and yell at his mother, and then she's like, he died.
Right.
And then it's somebody that Sarah Jessica has dated or slept with in the past.
Right.
And she tries to warn me off him, and I was like, I like him. Whatever.
Right.
So that must be right.
Because at one version, there was like an argument between you guys about it. You know, like
Like
break.
she still liked him or something or how
where
could
it
you
was
go out with
not
him?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Carolyn Strauss was like, no, they're never going to be doing that.
Right.
You know, and then the only other note that I ever personally got, well, actually I had to reshoot the scene with the guy, the up the butt guy, because Darren told me that I was too upset. Because, you know, my thing in the beginning.
With the guy on the bed.
My thing in the beginning with my 2 flats, you know, I only had 2 flats.
Yes.
I don't know what Miranda had.
I think I had nothing. I think I had nothing until I bought the
Until you bought
apartment,
the
and then I had a
apartment.
whole apartment.
Amazing. Yeah, you're quite out in the world, which I love. You know, you're walking, you're talking, you're with Skipper, you're with Carrie.
Right.
Oh, we have to talk about you and Carrie.
Yeah.
We have to talk about you and Carrie.
Yeah.
When you think about your relationship, the Miranda-Carrie relationship, I feel like, and in ways that I never really clocked, because of course I'm over there just trying to do my best as Charlotte, right?
Right.
I'm not thinking objectively about everybody, but like it's such a through line. And your walk and talks. And I remember when we're on And Just Like That, I'm always like, darn it, they have another walk and talk. And I'm not in it. Like I'm always so sad. Do you know what I mean? But when I look back at the history of it, I'm like, of course they do. It's like a touchstone for our whole entire being.
Right.
Do you feel that way?
I do. I feel like I'm not sure I understand it. I feel like both Charlotte and Samantha have a thing that Miranda doesn't have, which is they have a little bit of like, I'm not going to mess in your world.
That's true. Yeah.
I see you doing something. I don't agree with it. I don't approve of it. I don't whatever.
Right.
But I'm going to
respect it.
I'm going to respect it, or
right.
I'm just not going to mess with it.
Right.
I don't want to have a fight with you. I don't want to whatever.
Right. Not Miranda.
Right, Miranda. Right. And I think maybe it's because Miranda sort of came later to this idea of like a partner, children, like a kind of an interior self, you know? So I think for a long time, Carrie was that person for her.
Yeah.
That was like her.
For sure.
Right? And so she fights with her the way you would fight with a spouse.
So true.
Right?
It's so true, yeah.
Like Miranda doesn't feel like there is a politeness boundary.
No, she doesn't. And I think that's what Carrie likes and needs.
Right.
You know, from the Carrie standpoint, like here's someone who's actually going to tell me what she thinks.
Right.
She's not going to tiptoe. She's going to go right in there. Do you know what I mean? Not that she listens to you, but you know, it's a really interesting dynamic.
But it's like the thing when Miranda disapproves of something or someone, it's very hard for Carrie to sort of like quiet that head in her voice.
Yeah.
Because she thinks, oh, maybe she's right.
Yeah, definitely, which is what's so great. It's such a great and interesting dynamic that I rewatching it, I'm really much more aware of it than I used to be in terms of like so many important things happen on your guys' walk and talks.
Right.
You know, that affect, I mean, maybe there's listened to, maybe they're not listened to, but like you're like thinking out loud and processing together in a way. And even though you're very different, you meet kind of in the middle in an interesting way, you know, like in terms of like kind of intellectually, but also emotionally. There's an exchange that I really love.
Yeah.
And it's partly because you are so different.
Yeah.
And you have a different point of view.
Yeah.
But you're equals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is so great in so many ways. where Charlotte's like, is my hair too shiny? At least that's how she begins. You know what I mean? But you guys right away, I feel like it's very much equals kind of who respect each other. I feel like she needs your opinion. She needs it. You know, she's not going to necessarily show you that, right? But she's like, oh, you know, she's very in her like way, like, oh, well, you know, this, and you're like, really?
I think right. I mean, I do feel like, you know, I'm very into the Greek gods and high school and whatever, right?
I know.
And so it's so obvious. It's like, right, Samantha is Aphrodite.
Yes.
And you're Hera, right? The goddess of marriage, right?
Yes.
And I'm Artemis, right? And then Carrie's, I don't know who's, but I mean, I think that's a thing about Miranda is like, she's very, like, that's a thing about Artemis. Like, she has her whole little tribe of women and they're hunters and they're not Amazons, but they're kind of like Amazons, and like men are like second tier.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
and
they
so
do.
it's like our relationship is primary, and it's why Miranda can like get in there. I mean, with you guys too. Like Miranda, like, you know, provokes you, and you know, all the,
in a
you
good
know,
way.
I would just keep walking. Oh no, Carrie says that, right? I would just keep walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, my choice is my choice.
Yes. I choose my choice.
I choose my choice. See, I don't even remember them right, but she does. I can't really remember Miranda in the book so much. Like, I do feel also, like, as much as I think about Charlotte not being fleshed out in the book, I don't really think anyone was that fleshed out in the book in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I read the book and I liked the book, but I don't remember it hardly at all.
Like, I think we kind of just...
I remember it was hard to like the people.
It was hard to like the people.
It was really hard to like the people.
Michael and I talked about this. Like, it was... You know, I do think that Candace was, you know, kind of reporting the things she was hearing were going on in this kind of certain group of people, like the finance bros and the, you know, it was a dark, as Michael put it, a dark kind of a...
And the men had a lot of power and money.
A lot of power and money. And there was kind of this...
And the women were wanting to be loved and wanting to be...
Which is... So Michael talks about when he came in that he didn't really know that world. You know, Darren knew it and Candace knew it, obviously, but Darren knew it and was bringing that. Like, when I watched The Modelizer, I had totally forgotten about that sex tape thing.
Right.
I was like, what on earth?
Right.
Now, I'm 100% sure that really happened and Candace was just reporting about it. But like the fact that Carrie has to sit there and be like, oh, do you have a light? Like, it's so crazy. But then later she does go to Samantha and say like, oh, you know, you might not want to go over there. You know, and Samantha's like, I will. Which, you know,
the thing that I remember about the book is that there are all these people and they're all alienated.
Yeah.
The men and women are definitely alienated from each other. They're working at cross purposes. They're not showing their hand. They're trying to win.
Right.
But they're not win through, let me tell you what I want.
Right.
Let me hear what you want, you know. And that there's no sense that I remember in the book of the women being allied with each other.
Right.
And so I think that's I mean, and the pilot, which I love the pilot, but the pilot captures much more of that sense of like, we're all ships that pass in the night and we can't help each other and we're all kind of doomed.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's the big switch that makes the show is like, we're all on our separate journeys and they're often disappointing or worse, you know, harrowing in some way. But the thing that we are not in doubt of is our love for each other and our commitment to each other. And
our
the fact that
family.
and that we're always going to be there for each other.
Definitely.
And that as opposed to men with whom you might feel like you have to play a game, that with between the women, we tell each other what we think.
Right. Which is so, so great. I feel like that's almost possibly the ending, though. I really hate to end because I could talk to you forever and it's so much fun. And I'd love to hear the other, like, because even though we went through it, everyone has slightly different...
Of the coming to it.
Yeah, memories and coming to it and how you thought about it and what you think now when you look back. Like, it's super fascinating. And we're obviously so incredibly lucky to be part of it and part of something that has been able to last this long. And I feel like the reason it's been able to last this long in its different carnations is the storytelling, and the relatability and the kind of the core, discovery or like search for answers. And, like Michael has his own viewpoint, as you know, about, what our themes are or whatever. But I just love to talk about it because every time I talk to any of us, I learn more about it.
Right.
And I feel like people obviously relate to it in different ways for that very reason.
I mean, when I watch the show, when I watch an episode, having seen it however many times before, the thing that always strikes me is how concentrated it is, how dense it is, about how there's no treading water.
Right.
That it's so compact. And I think it's one of the reasons people do like to watch them again and again and again, is there's multiple things going on every moment, and it's so beautifully like
woven together.
It's so the themes and the lines and it's like a perfect, origami or something, like, and so of course it's funny and it's shocking and it's beautiful to look at, both in terms of us and the clothes and the cinematography and the city.
Right.
But it's really that it's dense. And it's funny because I was listening to a book on tape on my way over here of Nora Ephron's first book, and she was talking in great detail about how she came to be a writer from the world of journalism, and specifically from the world of the Post, which she said is a terrible newspaper, and also everything is really, really short. And she said it was a great training because I wasn't writing multiple pages.
Wow.
And I think, I don't know what there is about Darren and Michael that, maybe it was that the show was 23 minutes or 27 minutes or whatever.
That's what Michael had come from, right? Like true sitcom timing.
But that you have, maybe if you had one main character, you could tread water a little bit more, but you have four.
Right.
And to try and get four, and we always know this is an episode in which I'm heavy, this is an episode in which I'm light.
Right.
This is my episode, this is really not my episode.
Right.
But regardless, even if it's not your episode, you do have a storyline.
Right. And you're there.
You're
present.
And so to be able to boil it down and make it be so economical, I think is like everything has to do three things.
Yeah. And that's a really valid point. And I think also why it stands up. Like not every tiny detail will stand up, and some of it's nostalgic and some of it you're
some
like,
of
whoa.
it's cringy, right?
Yeah, but it's still fascinating. And that's, an accomplishment. Now, I want to say something else since you're here and since we're on my podcast, and I can. I just want to say that I've said this in different settings. Meeting you and having you be with me through this whole thing and be my protector has been such a gift. You are such a gift.
You have been my protector in at least as many ways.
I don't think so, but you're sweet. And I'm so happy to have gone through this with you and to continue. I cherish you.
I love you.
You're my baby. Mwah.
Oh.
Thank you for coming. We know you're not a Charlotte.
I'm really
we
not.
don't want you to be.
I'm really not.
It's cool.
I'm really
it's
not.
Cool. I don't want people to feel like they have to be a Charlotte. No, it's just a jumping off.
Yeah.
It's a jumping off question.
Yeah.
In case I don't know the person.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But I know you. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Kristin Scott Thomas.
I wish that I were Kristin Scott Thomas.